They are the favourites coming into this. They're the ones that perform better at the regional
Sure.
with Masters, obviously. And they have the roster. The name power is a little bit stronger there, and the synergy's there a little bit sooner than Fails and Ducky on the side of Eanix joining.
Exactly. I was about to say, yes, Dignitas looked better during the spring, but Eanix picks up Fails and Ducky and look revitalized. Both Lobster and Funball look like they're really getting onto that top tier again. Big Man Tings has looked great in that support role. And I'm really, Fails is in particular just continued to impress me during Season 4.
We'll see what Fails can do in this matchup, obviously, because he's going to be against Cuvo Fred in the jungle, but he's got a bit of a more all-star roster behind him. That's what a lot of people have been saying. Is this Fails' moment to shine? Is it Ducky's moment to shine? Because both of them have been on rosters where they've shown skill, they've shown the ability, and now they're on rosters where the ability might be alongside them now, where they should be able to grow and nurture it more.
It can be difficult to be on a team where you have to do it all, and then you come to a team where you just have to do your job correctly, and you have to try and change your playstyle to do that. But so far, Fails and Ducky have both done that pretty well during the summer split.
So it's the first time I've seen a Ganesha that's picked, I'm sorry, not banned, and then picked outside of first pick.
Yeah.
Already, it's starting to wane off on the likelihood of teams wanting that. Dignitas wanting the Osiris over that is very surprising, even though Osiris is very strong.
And then the Camazotz and the Morrigan. Lobster played this quite a bit during week 1. Just loves to play it as an aggressive assassin mage, basically, in the late game. Not as quite as flexible, I would say, as Pretty Prime is on the Morrigan in terms of transforming into various different characters and using their kits to the utmost ability, but just going invisible, stunning you, and insta-killing you in the late game.
It's not, it's nasty from Team Dignitas in terms of damage output, but it's not good in terms of control. There's only really Osiris with any sort of real CC.
Sure.
Consistent CC, I should say. And there's no real engage on this squad just yet, other than just raw damage.
I mean, I would agree with you, but like I said, Lobster is like building this as a frontline engagement tool sometimes.
Okay.
He's sacrificing himself for an engagement where he's stunning 2 or 3 people by Gold Fury, by Mid Harpies, things like that. That's who I'm looking at so far for Team Dignitas. You know that Variety is going to do well on that Osiris. I'm not worried about the Camazotz either.
Okay.
Lobster is like the focal point here on where this game's going to go.
Quite surprised Eanix did choose to ban away Rama and Hou-Yi there. I think the Kepri would have been a better choice, just so, like, with the lack of engagement the Dignitas have, removing the Kepri means that they can't just have someone run in there and get killed and then revive again and then run them in again. So they could have taken the Kepri away, but they focused instead towards the Hunter role.
I think it's just more about the matchups in lane for Funball. Both Ram and Hou-Yi have a little bit of a better matchup up against the Keranos instead of that Jingwei. Jingwei a little bit more focus on the farm, waiting until that mid to late game stages, whereas Funball can kind of out clear and then try and rotate and make the impact in the jungle.
Not gonna lie, I'm favoring Eanix's picks and ban composition here so far. Obviously with Sol and Keranos, the damage is there. Naja in the jungle to get him through the early game, transition nicely into the mid game. And then to back it up, you got Big Man Tings and Ducky on 2 Guardians that are known as very, very strong choice of Guardians.
Very good team fight composition coming out of Eanix for sure. It's just a matter of if Dignitas can get a lead early on with this Camazotz and Osiris in that right side of the map. As well as Fails, I mean, I said it earlier on today, Naja for me is just the pinnacle of risk-reward in terms of competitive play.
Well, I believe we saw Eanix do this before. Fails started on the left-hand side of the map instead of the right-hand side, as a jungler generally does for his speed buff. He started on the left. A previous game where he found a pick, if I believe, would have been an early aggression invade from a Kepri and somebody else. I can't remember actually what matchup that was. But he's going to start the red buff on his own here on the Naja. Has no hog available, but getting that solo experience and denying it from the enemy jungle and the enemy team is always useful.
Naja, one of the best at solo clearing the buffs, even at level 1, just because that ring toss is so good, plus that splash auto attack in the attack chain. So as you mentioned, Fails is going to get that red buff. But now the dual lane from Dig is coming back.
So he does take away the babies using the ring toss there just to deny it and immediately take the safe route back towards his left-hand side of the jungle. Oracles are available, but he wants to make sure that they're not doing the purple, which isn't happening. Tricks and Arkill still level 1.
And this is okay for Eanix because I like the idea to put Fails on the left. There's no way you're contesting against Camazotz Osiris early on, not with Terra on that side of the map. This is Eanix saying, all right, Dig, you got us in picks and bans. You can have all those buffs on the right, but we're going to take everything we can on the left. Look for Eanix to continue to focus on the enemy red and purple buffs.
And the main job for Ducky is survive in lane. Don't give up any early kills against his Osiris or the Camazotz. Wait for the team fight to bring it all together and use that utility to the strength of Eanix.
And Eanix has plenty of utility. As I mentioned, their team fighting is also phenomenal here. There's tons of AoE, zone control, CC as well. You know, that big root coming out of Terra and that of Funball. Lobster's going to be able to cover a lot of distance with that Stellar Burst Supernova combination. And Big Man Tings is going to try and spread everybody out with his ultimate as well.
So there's a little bit of a gold lead for Dignitas right now as they take their own jungle too. Some of that is down to the fact that Fail soloed those buffs, and when you don't share the experience with at least one other person, the amount of gold and experience you get as a team does deteriorate a little bit because of it.
Overall, it's a little bit less efficient, yes, but in terms of individually, it's better for Fails because he doesn't have to split that experience in gold. You know, the way the sharing rules work in Smite, you can basically create gold and experience out of thin air by splitting correctly, but in that scenario, I think it's more, again, guaranteeing Fails some farm on that left side of the map and not having him try and fight up against Osiris on the right.
So where do we expect the aggression to come from? Because I'm looking at the right-hand side, I'm pretty sure we mentioned Ducky's probably going to just sit on the tower all day. Mid lane, it's Sol up against the Morrigan, and even want to get overly aggressive, maybe just poke it out for the time being until team fights?
Yeah, the mid lane is the only place I think we're going to see some fireworks potentially, just because of how volatile any engagement with Najah can go. As soon as Najah misses an ultimate, all of a sudden that's a huge engagement for the other team, or a quick ultimate out of Najah can really turn the tides in favor of your squad.
It just feels like both teams have really drafted heavy team fight orientated compositions. I mean, Dignitas, yeah, they've got a lot of damage in these fights, a lot of poke potential, which will help them out. But both teams do have a situational pick, I'll say, out of people being out of position. So position, as long as position is good, it's going to be all team fights.
Two well-drafted team comps, I would say. Both teams can kind of do it all. You've got Dignitas that can just take the 1v1s and not really worry about it. Cuvo does very well in those types of 1v1, 2v2 sort of skirmishes as Kamisats, because he doesn't have to worry about which target he's hitting with his single target abilities. It's just going to the obvious target. But you also have good team fighting from both sides as well. I think Eanix is a little better overall in terms of the siege potential just because of having that soul in the mid lane as well as a Keranos. And then, of course, get Nash on that team means that they're going to be able to burn objectives incredibly quickly.
Well, the red buff has come up for Dignitas, and the speed buff has come up for Eanix, and that's exactly where the opposite teams are going to go, to each other's buffs, and the red is taken away again from Dignitas' left-hand side jungle, and Cuvo will take away the speed from Fails.
And that's what you expect right now with that Osiris on the right-hand side. But look at how much of a lead Cuvo already has over Fails. 2 levels right now. A lot of that going to the fire elementals on that right-hand side, being worth a little bit more than those oracles on the left.
Surprisingly enough, that's one of the reasons I think Fails is over in the duo lane there, just soaking experience while they did send Big Man Tings towards mid lane on the Ganesha. How are we feeling about Ganesha so far? Obviously, we've seen him banned a lot. A lot of people have extended, you know, he says control around Golfiers and Fire Giants right now, which is getting a nerf in the next patch. Do we think he is a top pick, top ban after that?
I do. I think he's absolutely insane. I mean, the amount of counter engage that he has we saw it earlier today, I believe it was Caspanify for Burrito, just silences a dash taunt out of an Athena. The Athena dashes in, and then just kind of stands there, and nowhere for him to go, really. Yes, the silence will eventually wear off, but just how much damage his first ability does alone. He's got Khepri-esque clear in the early game. You could. I'm not convinced you couldn't play this character in mid. His clear is so good.
Wow, really?
And then the burst potential is absolutely nuts. If you can lock them down on your wall, you can solo people who are 2-3 levels ahead of you. That's even before we're talking about how quickly
has to be on the wall.
Furies.
Let's clear that up. You have to get that on the wall. And
yes, it is. It is not an easy character.
Is that easy?
No, not at all. It is not an easy character to play whatsoever. But I really do think Ganesh is near the top, right there with Fafnir in terms of valued supports.
Okay, so right above Khepri, would you say? Khepri Terra? Or
they
is
do
it
different.
the same sort
so
of
they do different things. Ganesh is a little bit more poke-oriented and has excellent backline peel, similar to Khepri, but you can really get away without having any engage with a Khepri on your team because, as you mentioned, you just have someone suicide in and then revive them, and that's your engagement, basically. Ganesh is a little bit more team-oriented, but he's a phenomenal team fighter, a little bit better than that of Khepri, I would say, where you can kind of get lost in all the action, trying to revive multiple people, throw out that Rising Dawn. He's a different style of Guardian that I don't think we necessarily have right now in Smite, but I think he's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, this is Europe, and this is some of the top teams in Europe, and these two teams know each other so well. I predicted it would start at this sort of pace, where it's mainly focused on farming, basically a chess match between the two teams, and there'll be one big team fight that can potentially break the back of the game and force something open for a team to take the lead here.
This is what Europe likes to do.
It's normal.
Yeah, this is if you just started watching Smite in Season 4, the beginning of Season 4, Europe actually was a little bit more aggressive than we're used to seeing from them.
I know.
This is what we're used to when you watch European SPL, is the first 15 to sometimes 20 minutes even are going to be fairly slow and methodical. A lot of invades without a lot of contest on those invades. A little bit of poke damage here and there, but not a lot of kills.
Sash in mid from Fail straight onto Trix, who's taken to the sky. Tings is waiting with the silence and the walls at the bottom too for a wombo combo. Trix is still alive though because of the revive, but Fails will clean it up. Now Zero's in trouble too, and he's going to fall down before he can even get off on the Morrigan. Cube on the right-hand side did take down Ducky, and Arkill's rotation will help defend the mid lane, but we talked about bursts of action, and we got one then.
Certainly did. I love that interaction between the Ganesh ult and the Naja ult. That's what I hadn't even thought of. Yeah,
I considered Nox. I thought about Nox and the setup potential there, but I'd not thought about Naja and landing, because Naja and landing is one of the things you always want follow-up.
And that's plenty of follow-up, even out of your Guardian. Cuvo does have his ultimate here in the middle of 3. Gonna try and turn it around on a Fails.
The timing of that ultimate was perfect from Cuvo, and it's gonna set up for variety with the Lord of the Afterlife just to clean up crew that first kill. Tings was looking there for the knock-up, the stun onto Cuvo, so he couldn't do anything, but the time was great, and now the elephant will fall.
And this is exactly why Eanix did not want to fight on that right-hand side early on. Variety shows up to 1 engagement, and all of a sudden Dignitas get 2 more kills on that right-hand side. Double kill for Variety, and that's exactly why they picked this Osiris for him, as he just dominates that right side.
I'll tell you what, I have to say an elephant there as well. I just realized how many more animals are we going to get in Smite when you think about it. We've got horses, Guan Yus, and Chiron technically. You got bats, spiders, elephants.
I want an otter. I like otters.
I mean,
cool.
Technically you have an otter on Erlang Shen.
That's a mink.
It's close enough.
It's pretty close. It looks like
close
an otter.
enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, we've got a lot of animals in the game. I'm just realizing that.
We do. We're like a little zoo.
The Smite Zoo.
That's right.
Left-hand side, Fails is looking for a bit of pressure again onto Arkill, but I think Arkill's well aware of the situation. He's got a bit of wall coverage there, and Fails will just get some lane tax for turning up there. Not something we really talk about, but sometimes junglers do just come in to tax your lane. You know that from playing with junglers yourself, right?
I sure do. They always feel like they're entitled to your farm if they're falling behind. But it is, in the end of the day, it is what's best for the team, but it is a little bit frustrating at times whenever you're the one trying to either extend a lead or catch up yourself. In the end of the day, you just have to find the right amount of splitting, whether it's getting in that mid lane or side lanes, stealing away from farm from your laners. But it's about getting on time for these fire elementals and the back harpies. That's where you can really catch up with farm pretty quickly there.
Well, 5 kills in the match so far. 2 of them on Variety, who's playing Osiris, so that's not going to be a bad thing if you're a Dignitas fan. But the same could be said for Fails on this Naja, picking up 2 early kills. He is still 2 levels down on Cuvo, which is saying a lot considering he picked up 2 kills.
Very, very far behind in terms of levels, but the net worth is only about 400 gold. Not a big deal there, though Cuvo has finished off that Shifter Shield a little bit earlier than Fails. That's a huge power spike. 70 power now for Cuvo as long as he's above 50% HP.
So surprised by how long Fails is spending on this left-hand side. I think they're actually trying to just make sure Ganesh sits in mid lane alongside Lobster for the protections more than anything else, in case he gets aggressed on. Right-hand side, though, different story. Variety's going to take this tower very soon, as Fails hasn't paid any attention to this part of the map.
And there's a reason why we've seen the Guardians start to fall out of solo lane a little bit. There was a time where Guardians were basically the meta, where both solo laners just played something without a lot of clear and waved at each other from across the lane and waited until the team fighting phase. Not the case anymore with gods like Osiris.
3. This time the speed buff will be contested by Eanix. The root didn't really hit Cuvo. Fred Variety still trying to bring it down, and the buff does go the way of Eanix as Zero's in the sky as the Kamazots will pick up the kill. Trix are credited with it. Cuvo Fred also picks up Fails too, so even though the speed buff I believe was taken by Eanix there, Cuvo Fred and the boys of Dignitas pick up 2 kills.
And that's the power of the Morrigan there. It was Zero's coming in stealth, like I mentioned he likes to do. Just comes in stealth, stuns out Lobster, and sets him up for kill all by himself, while Cuvo and the rest of Dignitas handled Fails by the back harpies.
I mean, what's worse than 1 Kamazots?
2 Kamazots.
2 Kamazots. Is it Kamazotsis or Kamazotsi or something like that?
I think it's Kamazai.
Kamazai. Let's go with
Though
that.
technically, because they're gods, it can't be more than one of them. There could only be one.
Well, there's one god in the jungle right now, and that is Funballer, making sure Kernanos doesn't manage to get anything going this time round. Govio is going to go to Dignitas for free here as well. Things are starting to become a bit of a slippery slope in this game after Eanix were the aggressors at the beginning and got off to a pretty decent couple of kills.
And that's the idea whenever you have a side lane like the solo lane here for Eanix. They just didn't want to touch. They didn't want to get anywhere near that solo lane. And then they come over there a little bit. Variety gets 2 kills, and they're saying, okay, never again. We're not going over there. Oh, but speed buff is up. We can get this, right? And no, you can't. That's Dignitas's now. They're going to get 2 more kills, then the Gold Fury after that. as well as picking up Funball. And that's, you have to full commit just leaving that right side alone at some point. Or you have to focus it down early to get Ducky not as far behind. It's too late now. Variety is 3 full levels up over Ducky, closer to 4. And look at how many just items he has already. He's got that Pestilence working towards what's likely to be a mystical mail potentially. Could get that 3rd because who cares? He's got that much gold to his name, level 15 as well. This is tough for Eanix because when you try and leave one side of the map alone and then you go over there and get killed for it twice in a row, it's difficult to get back into it.
Yeah, it's been pretty methodical so far from Dignitas because it's Eanix that have been the aggressors in both cases. Realistically, they got the kills in mid lane early on, and then at the speed buff, they're the ones that went aggressive looking to defend it and got punished heavily by Dignitas, which has created this lead that gave them the Gold Fury. Now with the Portal Demon around, could be a bit of an issue on the right-hand side if they're not going to pay more attention to it now.
Very much so an issue, and I love what Variety's doing, just zoning that wave, not last hitting anything even because it's difficult to last hit as Osiris with those cleave auto attacks in the second part. So just making sure that wave doesn't get too close to Ducky, making it so he has to go to an unsafe area of the map to get his farm.
Big Man Ting's trying to hang around here, but there's wards everywhere from Dignitas. Just look at the wall coverage around in that nice little square around the Portal Demon. You can see they're all blue for Dignitas, and it means Eanix are going to have to face check things often of the time, and Big Man Ting's the first one there. Going to meet Variety, currently 4 levels down. No hesitation for Variety on the engage now, and Tricks following up.
And look at the poke on a Lobster as well, coming out of Cuvo Fred. Eanix just getting split up, and Dig winning the fight on both sides.
Interesting to see as well that we do see Funballer at the moment, who rotated towards the mid lane for Eanix there to try and support this potentially. But it did get free farm over to Arkill as the speed buff is stolen again by Dignitas.
Cuvo just on time for that buff every time, and that's what you expect out of a veteran jungler such as Cuvo Fred. No blink available for the Camazots this time, but plenty of damage.
Fails, has to sash in and beads away after the pull of the abduct from Trix Tank. Nice little poke damage coming out from Cuvo Fred to combine it there. Could have committed if they wanted to, but they would rather just poke down and try and play safe.
I like that call because the Portal Demon's available here, and as you mentioned, the ward coverage is solid coming out of Dignitas. Yes, Eanix get control of that top right side, but no vision on the inside of this Portal Demon.
And this time, Arkill's rotated all the way over from the duo lane to make sure he's here with his team. Portal Demon goes away. Fails blinks in. Fails wants to get out again, and he ults away to make sure Trixtank doesn't make his day any worse than it already is. Variety, meanwhile, just dealing with 3 members of Eanix on the right side. You know, no bother, no bother.
And how much HP did he lose there? 2% HP potentially on that Osiris? That's what you expect when you've left one alone for this amount of time in the game. Loved the beads there by Cuvo Fred. Thought Fails was going to go for the aggressive ultimate there and just making sure that he wasn't going to get hit by that. Yes, looked kind of foolish once Fails ults away, but definitely thinking the next step ahead at all times.
A couple of power spikes coming through for Dignitas now as well. Zero's in the mid lane playing that Morrigan, or the Morrigan. Spirit of Isolation now online, which means his damage is going to substantially increase in the next team fights.
Not only a lot of power, but some flat penetration as well, and that CDR, which is so important for the Morrigan, now sitting pretty close to that max CDR rank, so he can use that Changeling ultimate as much as possible. Very long cooldown for him on that one, but whenever you've got Sands of Time, Shoes of Focus, and that Spirit of Desolation, not nearly as bad.
Yeah, not a big issue overall, especially when the mobility from the stealth gets increased as you rank it up too. We'll see how Zeros does that time going on. Obviously, he maxes it last because you want the damage from the other 2 sources the majority of the time.
Exactly, that's very important. Surprised that Zeros isn't starting to level that Changeling ultimate though, to lower the cooldown. I guess he's relying on that 30% CDR he has built into his kit, or through the items, I should say.
Sure.
But then you're also not putting any points into the ultimates of the gods you're changing into at that point. Remember, whenever the Morrigan transforms, your points that you put into your own abilities are transferred to the other gods, and so that's only going to be a level 1 ultimate that he's using on all these kits.
Well, Big Man Ting's a bit of trouble here, right? Going to slap him back again for a second with Trixtank in support, and Dignitas really focusing on the ward coverage of denial of vision in the jungle on both the left and the right-hand side right now as Arkill trading off with Funball.
I like the way Dignitas is playing this, waiting until the Gold Fury respawns, about to be in the next less than 10 seconds, but if you're Eanix here, you're certainly not out of this game. If you can win this next Gold Fury engagement, you're right back tied in this one, especially if Lobster and Funball can stay healthy enough to siege afterwards. That's a guaranteed at least tier 1 tower, potentially tier 2 with how much damage these guys already have.
And that's kind of the point of this game now, is if Dignitas get this Gold Fury and win the fight afterwards, then Dig will probably be the ones in the driver's seat they'll go on to win with a substantial lead. But if Eanix win the Gold Fury fight or take the Gold Fury, we're probably in an even game once more.
And that's exactly what Eanix want to do because of the way their composition is crafted. They don't really expect to necessarily win the early game. They need to have a 5-on-5 grouping team fight in order to have a chance. The problem is, if it's a 5-on-5, that means big bad level 17 Variety is here, and level 14 Ducky is not going to be as impactful.
Well, the whole of Dig is already on the left-hand side with just Variety tailing behind in mid. Funballer doing a great job of boxing down Tricks Tank though and making sure Big Man Tings is safe. But Lobster ate so much damage from Zeros, and there's a commitment from Variety. Wasn't the best commit he was looking for though with the Lord of the Afterlife. He definitely wanted to pick up Lobster there if he could, but Lobster would just get away for now.
Did get the shell out though from Big Man Tings without a complete loss as Variety still zoning 2 on the front side. Ducky is surrounded and just shredded by Variety.
Oh, the balls came out from Fumble, as did the up and Big Man, but they're not going to be able to do anything else apart from run for their lives right now. Variety will pick up the final hit there using the sickle to get himself another kill.
2 kills in total for Dignitas there in that last engagement, and it's going to be another Gold Fury for them. As you mentioned, now in the driver's seat in this one.
By a decent, substantial margin, to be fair, as well. He's about 7,000 now because of that. That's crazy.
That's we're only 17.5 minutes in, and that's what that's the reason why, again, I talked about it earlier. There was a time where Guardians were just acceptable in the solo lane. It didn't really matter what if the other player was picking a Warrior. Teams have started to realize that you cannot allow a Guardian like Terra to just get free farm on that side and stay safe. Only 2 deaths on the Ducky, one of them coming in that last little engagement there, but it was just the fact that Variety was getting every single spawn of the Fire Elementals. It was Dignitas getting every single speed buff and blue buff on that right-hand side. And that's how you punish a late-game team-fighting composition like Eanix has drafted.
And I think what Eanix did there at the start, I don't want to put down Fails' starting strategy because I think it has some merit to start on the left-hand side of the red buffs. But what you have to do is try and make sure you get more rewards out of it than just stealing the buffs away. That's what Dignitas were able to do on the right-hand side of the map, and where Eanix need to correct going forward if they want to keep trying these strategies of having Fails start the red buffs.
I don't mind Fails starting there, as you mentioned. I think that it does. I mean, if you're losing the right, you might as well win on the left, but you got to get a kill or something like that on that side of the map. You've got to get Funball ahead because Arco was safe that entire time, even with Fails lurking on that left-hand side pretty consistently. And you also just, I'd like to see them put Ducky on an aggressive god. I mean, Ducky excels on the gods like Osiris, Hercules, Erlong Shen. Give him one of those, not one of these Terras where you can't really do anything in lane.
Methodical from Dignitas so far. Gold Fury, Portal Demon, Gold Fury, and now a second Portal Demon being tanked up by Trix Tank. And Arkill's here with a Rage now, so crits are starting to swing through, as you can see. Trix is just trying to keep Ducky busy so the Portal Demon can be taken and is secured for Dignitas. But here come the rest of the boys flanking in. Left-hand side, you can see Zero's just flanking around that side, as Variety's found Ducky on his own with no real support.
Variety didn't even use the ultimate there. Could have been a kill, but may have put Variety out of position. He's 5 levels up on Ducky right now. Very controlled play coming out of Dignitas' solo laner.
Could this be Fire Giant right now? Is this a bait for Fire, you reckon?
I mean,
yeah,
with Ducky having teleport, could be right there, but
sneaky Zeros looking for the pick on anybody, but they're all running for their lives as the rest of the team are backing up so well that they're just giving it away too much too early. So Zeros can't find the stun they were looking for. Fire Giant has been started up. Variety and Zeros, zone duty.
Zeros does find the stun, this time on a Big Man Tings. Could be a little bit of trouble now, but Arco full committing to this Fire Giant.
In the sky right now is Zeros. Fails took him out, and Funballer will take him back to the fountain. Big Man Tings, though, the elephant fighting against Osiris, won't live for long, though. Cubo from the right-hand side found Lobster with the support of Arco. Lobster's buying as much time as he can, but Ducky just can't get there to help him out.
But Fails does kill Variety, and that's a big deal right now. 3 left on this right-hand side, 3 on 3. Fails blink forward, the great ring toss.
Oh, Arco will get out of danger. Cubo for a different story, CC'd in place. And Eanix come out pretty well in that team. Fight 2 for 3 when you think about the fact they're behind in gold and experience. It's a big boon.
Huge deal for Eanix there. They did lose Lobster, so their tower push potential is a little bit less, but Ducky, despite only being level 15, has enough HP online to get going and tank up this tower. That means it's going to be 500 gold here for Eanix. Really good engagement. They split Dignitas up pretty well there. Lobster was left alone, yes, but was kind of left as bait. Good ultimate out of Fails, and he combines again with Big Man Tings to drop Zeros onto that ultimate.
I was a little bit worried about them sticking around too long here, Eanix, and they might just get away in time unless Zeros can find that stun, which he does on Ducky. But the rest of Dignitas can't follow up thanks to the nice walls out of Ducky, if anything, to stop them from chasing down.
And that's exactly what Zeros likes to do. He was the first one in there, and I think that that was also part of it, that Zeros could only find one target. It was big man Tings, and he doesn't really care that much if you're stunning him out as the Morgan. That means you're right on top of him, and it was a good recognition by Eanix to just immediately full commit to Dignitas' mid laner.
So about a 5k gold lead, actually just a little bit over 5k, so about 6,000 gold lead for Dignitas right now, 10-5. The tier 1 tower is still up in the middle and left-hand side for both teams. The right-hand side, pretty much standard for the solo lane towers to fall first of all, because once you get one out of that lane, then the other player generally just leaves it.
Exactly. You got what you came for. I don't need to stick around this lane anymore. That time, though, was Eanix winning that last team fight and taking advantage of it. Just making sure that as they don't really have a good place to run outside of the tier 2 if a fire giant in fight happens, now Dignitas has the same problem to worry about.
Well, Gold Fury is due to spawn in 20 seconds time. This time Eanix have realized that if they group as a unit and work as a team, things are working out better for them, and that's what I expected when you look at the compositions, is that the team fight should be strong from them. They show they can do that, but are they at such a deficit now that they can't do it as well as they should?
I don't know. There are some power items coming up now for Eanix that means that they might be able to take this team fight. Brawler's Beatstick finished for Fail. Sphere of Desolation for Lobster in that mid lane. Chin Size for Funball. It's a lot of damage now that they just got online. A lot of penetration as well in that Brawlers and that Sphere of Desolation. And really, Dignitas' damage is all single target when you really think about it. I mean, there's not a lot of AoE for them. Airstrike is their best AoE ability at this stage. I mean, that's not a big ultimate like that of, say, Lobster or even Funball.
Well, Gold Fury was started by Dig there. They're just trying to test to see what Eanix's response would be. It's a little bit lackluster from Eanix, but it wasn't anything too overly aggressive. They've got to be careful about the positioning here, because if they do get picked one member, when they pick one member, the burst damage is there with 3 Sunders on the map and it's stealthy zeros too.
There's a dash forward and knock up onto Cuvo. Stun out as well, forcing the Purification Bigs and the ultimate. But the Gold Fury was already being done.
And it gets taken by Dignitas, but now they're on the run as Eanix tried to run them down. Trick's pinned in place, he's going to get CC, but he's got a lot of damage. Fails, hits the ultimate, but the bad news is Orko reacted so perfectly with his own. Trick's still in trouble though, walled in place by Ducky. Tick, 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 but there's no boom just yet, as Lobster can't find it, as Orko blocks the shot with his Aegis.
Cuvo doing so much damage though, he's going to find Fails with that one. No ultimate for him, and uses the sustain from that 3, try to get out of danger.
Oh, the crits are hitting from Arkell too. He'll pick up Ducky and trade, and now Lobster Aegis is very early to make sure he gets a disapparate off. Bad news is Variety's going to give chase, and Lobster's all but dead.
Lobster's toast here. Good damage coming out of him though, but trying to trade into Arkell. Arkell will get the better end, but not by much. Dignitas get the Gold Fury and take the 3v1 on top of that.
Not sure, you know, I think if Funball and Big Man Tings would have stuck as a unit with Lobster, they might have been continuing to trade out. He probably would have been only one man left alive, I feel.
Maybe, but that's one of those calls where if your team is saying, all right, we're out, we got to get out, we got to get out, you can't really blame Big Man and Funball for listening to that.
We casted the first out of the day. You mentioned bait and switch, and that's kind of what Dignitas is doing now. They're baiting Eanix into taking fights while the rest of the team is doing the Gold Fury or the Portal Demon. They're basically a distraction. That's all they're there for.
The teamwork from Dignitas has really been impressive so far for me today, and that's the thing that was really the question mark about this squad whenever the roster was announced. No doubts about the mechanical skill or potential from this squad.
Big Man Ting stunned in place and then abducted, so you get silenced yourself there. And straight away, Big Man Tings will teleport himself back to the fountain the easy way. That's what you want to do when you want wards.
Smart play there out of Big Man Tings for sure. Just walking into 4, just making sure that he could back as quickly as possible.
And credit to him, there's nobody could really do that. He had to go around the corner and try and check, see what was going on. And he will know now, alongside Eanix, that the Fire Giant's now gone to Dignitas, and it's them on the defense. Defensively, how strong are they with 2 technical hunters with Sol and Kurnanos?
I mean, it's still a lot of AoE damage, and again, all it takes is Fails to find 1 blink ultimate onto Arkell or Zeros that could really turn the fight pretty quickly. It is a little bit easier to blink, use that blink engage from Naja whenever an enemy team is running at you, because you expect their momentum to carry towards you a little bit. You can kind of catch them off guard at times, but at the same time, Dignitas is a veteran team. They know that Eanix's win condition is relying on Fails to find that blink ultimate. You can bet they're going to be trying to play around it.
Dig happy to just backdoor these towers, just using brute force of the tanky nature. Trickstack still tanking this up. You saw what Ducky did there. Absolutely nothing to him. But there was Big Man Tings getting thrown in for a second, and I thought that might have been a commit sign for Eanix. Instead, no. They're still trying to hold on to this tier 2.
It's very low, though. Fails is lurking in that jungle, has the blink ultimate available, but being nice and patient with it. Arkil trying to knock down this tower, but a good stun there coming out of Ducky.
And Arkil still trying to attack up a few more, but will agility away just back to the safety of his teammates as the extra damage was coming through from Lobster there. Tower below 20% right now.
Might be even below 10%. I'd wager a guess.
I was playing safe.
I know you were, and I appreciated that. Variety, the first one in. Arkil still not there to knock it down, but Cubo's going to be the one to find the tower.
Not going to really do much. Variety was slowed down for a second. Cubo and Variety both giving chase. Variety just using a lot of the afterlife, I guess, a distance close, if anything. The bad news is that Ducky, playing Terra, can always get his team that extra mobility when required.
Shouts to the extra movement speed from Terra's Blessing. Certainly saves Eanix there, but cannot save their tower. 1,500 gold, the way of Dignitas. Now that gold lead up above 1,200.
It's not been overly exciting this game, has it? When you think about it, Aggro, it's kind of been just a methodical play from Dignitas where Eanix showed signs.
This is one of those games, I make this analogy fairly often. This is a pitcher's duel between two really, really good teams that the fan that doesn't play at a high level may say, oh, you know, this game is boring, resident sleepers in the chat. But if you're a high-level player and you're watching what Dignitas is doing to a team the caliber of Eanix, you can't help but feel impressed. The way they've played the map and played pretty conservatively, but also finding the right spots to push the pressure on. Variety on that right-hand side was the real catalyst for this one. Zero's done a pretty good job on that Morrigan. Though Eanix, you have to give credit where it's due. They had a pretty solid team fight around that Fire Giant where they end up with that with the 2v2,
sure,
but they get the tier 1 tower in exchange. Eanix almost fought back into this one, but Dignitas has just done such a good job of picking their fights intelligently.
Well, final tier 2 standing, Trixtank tanking it once more. Variety goes to the backside, gets the silence out of Bidman Tings, who engages onto Cubo Fred, trying to set up some extra damage. The walls come down from him too, but fails. Eats a crit to the face, and he's forced out. Trying to pick up Variety's the whole squad now, but there again is Trixtank. They're all trying to leave Variety alive, and Variety will survive for an extra second, and they kill him at the right moment. One for the tier 2 tower, however, in favor of Dignitas.
And Variety has the teleport up as soon as he respawns in 50 seconds, so Dig is going to be able to just clear out this Gold Fury, back to base, spend their gold, and Variety will be waiting for them there at the Fire Giant.
So I guess the question was, like, where does Dig work out in the rankings of EU then? Because Eanix split with Obey.
They did, and looked very good in doing so.
Dignitas currently, in my opinion, is manhandling Eanix is what's happened here. They've just pulled them from pillar to post and picked them apart.
Well, there's only one game in. There's a 2-game set.
That is true.
We've seen, I mean,
the comeback
we saw last week it was Energy who kind of spanks Obey in one game and then gets spanked in the next by Obey. So it's very volatile at times. Very difficult to tell exactly what's going to happen.
With the blink, but there straight away, Oculus reactions of a cheetah of some. I was trying to think of something fast. I was like, cheetah will do.
Cheetahs are fast.
It was quick. I was like, yeah, cheetah works. I was thinking animals again with the zoo. So yeah, the beads were great out of Arkil there. We just saved him, turned it around, and actually spelled Fails' demise. Now it's a 4v5 because Variety's back, and it could be Ducky in trouble, but he's gonna dash away. Lobster at half health, trying to sustain himself back up. Bomball is having to rotate around Ron's side, and it's gonna make Ducky use his ultimate.
No, it's Zeros who transforms into the Terra to give the movement speed to Dignitas. Love the idea, but it's still not enough to close the gap.
That did not work out in my head, so I did not see Zeros transform, so confused for a second there. Now they're looking for the Phoenix, though. Dignitas with the man advantage. Ducky pops his own ult in response this time, hitting Zeros and making sure he gets the beats too. Keeping Arkil honest as well, so there's not much damage going on the Phoenix. The bad news is Ducky was on his own.
That's all the damage was into the solo later. Arkil dashing forward, not worried about the Phoenix. He's worried about the kills.
And on the right-hand side as well, you can see Arkil still trying to fight in on his own. He went a little bit too aggressive. He was like, hey, Cuvo, hey, Variety, you're getting all the kills. Let me... Why did you leave?
Where are you guys?
Why did you go again?
Team, hello? They were on the Phoenix a little bit. That's what... You're going to see this from Dignitas from time to time. They are a squad that doesn't mind playing a little overly aggressive at times. But again, Arkil on this Jingwei doesn't really matter that much that he falls, because not only will he have this portal to go through if he wants it, but can just fly back to this Fire Giant very, very quickly.
I think we can call it Critway right now. With that build he's got there, Rage, Deathbringer, and Malice.
Plus you got the extra crit on the explosive bolts for Jingwei, so that's like, that has to be pretty close to 100% crit chance whenever you've got your explosive bolts procced.
Oh, it's painful, especially with 5 stacks of the Rage for sure. Blue up to Variety. The Fire Giant has spawned once more. Dignitas will be starting that momentarily, I expect. But at the moment, Cubo's doing what Cubo does best and hunting the jungle for tasty, tasty morsels to pick apart.
That's what he's done all game long. 5, 2, and 8 on this Camazot's third on his team in player damage, just behind Arkil. on the Jingwei. You expect variety to be right at the top there between all the bullying he did at Ducky and Lane, but as well as the mystical male in the middle of these team fights, not afraid to go in 1v4, 1v5. Anything to put that player damage a little higher.
So now with the middle lane down, Dignitas is going to pay their attention to the right-hand side. They've got minions flooding around. Kivo just going to clear out wards in the jungle, and wards have been my real focus this split so far because I keep seeing so many more than we did the previous one, that's for sure. And he'll just stay mid lane, continue pressuring the waves here, and wait for Eanix to be forced to commit to a fight before he rotates in.
You know what I think it was? I think it was the fact that everyone was kind of relying on the Oracle Chalice, and then people stopped buying it, and we're like, oh man, we don't have any wards. And it was everyone realizing slowly, oh yeah, we have to actually buy those.
Talk about wards as well. Look just behind. You can't see it on camera now, but there's a ward by Fails down right in this lane, just to keep an eye on where Dignitas are. Zeus is the closest one to it now. But they're taking the sweet time, just waiting for the minions here, Dignitas. They don't want to make a mistake at this critical moment.
Fails does have the blink and the ultimate, could look for it, but going to be playing it patient as Variety takes a lot of damage underneath that Phoenix very quickly.
And he's trying to still engage, use the ability of having the Capriel to revive him, and they'll get the Phoenix too. The fight, though, still raging on.
Zero's going to transform into the Terra once more, giving his team that AoE ultimate. Arco going to put down the Terra on the other side. Double kill as he finds Funball as well.
And only 3 members left for Eanix, and Fails will whiff the ultimate for the 3rd time. That one was not by choice, neither was the others with the beads and the ultimates. But the Titan will fall, and they're trying to farm every last morsel of kills. Big Man's trying to live as long as he can. The Titan, though, that's not going to live for long.
32 minutes, but it was Dignitas in control from the very beginning, and Eanix, as